Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Ironjaw number 1 through 4. Probably the most Atlas Seaboardy of all the Atlas Seaboard comics. Whatever that je ne sais quoi that Atlas Seaboard had going for him, the kind of skirting the comics code, all the comics were a little wonky and maybe a little even disturbing for mainstream comics. This has it in spades. As you can tell, it's a barbarian comic, and they're pretty amazing in their own way. It's the brainchild of Michael Fleisher, who did many comics for Atlas Seaboard, and of course also did many DC comics and Marvel comics. Probably most famous for his Spectre comics. Incredibly violent comics code comics. Somehow he always knew how to skirt the comics code. This was probably one of the first Atlas comics I ever bought, and it was one of the first ones that came out. But I was buying them secondhand in quarter bins, probably in like 1976, 1977. I was discovering these. And I found this is one of the first Atlas comics I found, and instantly I realized, like, I gotta get all of these. Sorry about that, guys. I'm still sick. Probably the main obvious reason I picked this up, is for this Neil Adams cover. I think this is one of the best covers of the 70s. Seriously. This cover is just so fucking cool. It's just amazing Neil Adams. Just perfect Neil Adams work. So we start off, and we see this lone traveler, and the captions tell us how, this looks like something from olden times. This looks like a scene from the past, but it's actually the future. So the twist on Ironjaw is that it's a barbarian comic, but it takes place in the future after mankind has destroyed civilization with nuclear bombs. They don't capitalize on that very much. It's not like you see these old pieces of technology, or you don't see old wreckages of buildings. So even you could totally imagine this is just some weird, like Samaria. They don't really play up the fact that it's post-apocalyptic at all, but that is the scenario. And we find out who the traveler is, and of course, it's Ironjaw. And written by Michael Fleisher, penciled by Mike Sekowsky, a longtime DC artist, inks by Jack Abel. And I remember as a kid hating this art so much. I thought this was so crappy. And now I kind of like it. But it's not really good for a barbarian comic. I like this art, but it's kind of doesn't really fit. Ironjaw's a pretty cool looking figure with his, of course, his iron jaw. He definitely is a new twist, a new wrinkle on the barbarian myth. He rides a unicorn. So suddenly we see this old man and his daughter, and they're fleeing these soldiers. They kill the old man. They kill the father. And they're basically talking about how, oh yeah, but don't use the net for the young woman so we can have our sport with her. Obviously, these guys are gonna rape her. So this is like these first few pages, we realize how different the writing is in these Atlas comics, and also just Ironjaw, his character, is very different. He's truly a barbarian. And Ironjaw sees this and thinks, oh, I don't give a shit about that old man, but the wench is comely and may prove to be an agreeable companion. So it's not like he's virtuously going to save this girl. He's going to save her so he can have her for himself. So he rides down there. The soldiers are about to have their fun. And Ironjaw starts shooting arrows at him, and then wades into them with his axe and his sword. And when Ironjaw frees her from the net, this woman, she says, "Oh, you must be a rebel too." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I've traveled far and I yearn for companionship. So I took you from those men." That's a nice drawing of this woman here. And she's saying, "I don't want to come with you." And he says, "I'm strong and you are weak, so it does not matter what you want." And it's weird how he just says all these like sexist things. She says, "Don't you want to know why the soldiers were coming after us?" "No, but you are a woman, and so you will tell, because women are unable to keep silent." So we realize that he's just a total cynical bastard. He doesn't give a shit about this rebel movement or what she's saying. She says, "My father believed in freedom." And Ironjaw says, "Your father was a fool. Freedom is a word used to recruit soldiers by those who have no gold to pay." So now a short while later, one of those soldiers escaped Ironjaw's wrath, and he runs to his king and his queen. I like the outfits of these two. Some good costume design. And he basically says, "He has returned, Your Majesty," because he recognized Ironjaw has this little birth mark on his shoulder. It looks like a bird. So what we'll find out quickly enough, that Ironjaw is actually the rightful heir to the throne. So they stab this soldier. He says, "Have you told anyone about this?" He says, "No, Your Majesty." And so he stabs him with an arrow. So apparently, this is some big news. It's worth killing over. See, like, I could totally remember, like, hating this art as a kid. It's so cartoony. You know, I wanted to see guys like Pablo Marcos draw a barbarian comic with lots of lines, which we will soon see. That's a little foreshadowing there, because Pablo Marcos takes over next issue. So the king tells his captain of the guard to capture Ironjaw. Meanwhile, they're in some cavern. It looks like Ironjaw has just gotten with this maiden, this girl, and now she's all like sweet on him. She says, "At first I thought I would hate being here with you, but now I..." And then Ironjaw, of course, has to say something shitty. "But now you find out that you don't mind it so much. You're just like all women, never knowing what you really want." Oh my God, what a dick. So she asks him about his past. I guess he was raised by this guy Tarlock, the leader of a band of robbers. Man, there's some weird inking going on here with her hair. It's Jack Gable. You never know what you're going to get with him. So as far as he's concerned, he's the son of Tarlock. And he doesn't know who his mother is. They do mention some things that are post-apocalyptic. Like, he keeps mentioning the great crater where nothing grows. Though that could be, you know, if we didn't know any better, that could just be from a fantasy thing. Now we cut away. We see this little shepherd boy. Here's some of that weird inking. The way he inks these sheeps. Kind of neat, but also kind of odd. And he follows one of his stray sheep into the very same cavern that Ironjaw is, hanging out with that lady. Ironjaw grabs him and is going to slit his throat. She convinces Ironjaw not to kill him. She says, "Little boy, you promise you won't tell?" And he says, "Yeah, I promise." So Ironjaw agrees and lets him go. She's very thankful to Ironjaw. And he's probably going to get rewarded soon, off camera. Of course, this little brat goes right to the tavern. Ooh, excuse me. And finds some of the soldiers, the guard. And he instantly squeals. And so there's this guy with an iron jaw in the cave. This is the guy that was tasked to find him. So he's like, excellent, perfect. So a little later at night, the soldiers show up. And they're there for Ironjaw. I guess Ironjaw realizes he can't fight all of them, so he's taken captive, him and the woman. This woman is wearing this craziest thing. I don't know how the comic code approved this top here. And this isn't, like, I don't remember ever reading this kind of dialogue in a Marvel or DC comic. This guard says, "In you go, slut. Tomorrow we feed you to the bears." So they put him in separate dungeons. And the captain of the guard tells the king that the mission was a success. And we see the queen and the king talking. And they're talking about how, oh my God, do you really think that this Ironjaw is my son and Elena's brother? And Elena's outside, the princess. She's listening. So, of course, she's incredibly intrigued. So she goes down to the dungeons and wants to seek audience with Ironjaw. Of course, it's a creepy scene. You know, this is his sister, even though he doesn't know it. And he says, they've sent me a lovely wench to help ease the boredom of my fine hours. And he's like grabbing her by the wrist. Like Ironjaw is just like all, just does not know the meaning of the word no or know how to read signals. He's just like, come here, you. And she sees the birthmark on his shoulder and realizes that he is her brother. She slaps him. And, of course, Ironjaw just takes that to be like, oh, I like a woman with spirit. For the wilder the filly, the better the ride. Oh, my God. And so the guard comes in, conks Ironjaw on the head, knocks him out. And a few minutes later, Ironjaw wakes up. And, of course, he says another stupid thing like, the women in this kingdom are the same as women everywhere. They offer themselves to you on a platter. And then they, what's this? And she left him a knife to help him escape, I guess. Yeah, they offer themselves up on a platter. She just wanted to talk to you. But to you, that means, oh yeah, she wants them. She wants me to take her. So he uses the knife, kills the guard, and escapes. And as he's climbing out of his dungeon, or his tower, jail tower, he says, oh shit, I forgot about that blonde that is imprisoned. She's way too comely for me to let her go so easily. I shall have to re-enter the castle and get her back. We have a little editorial page about Ironjaw, talking about Michael Fleisher. And I always loved these pages when I was a kid. Just giving you a little background information. Okay, next we have number 2. And we have another beautiful Neil Adams cover. This is great. Nice stuff. And now we have new artist, Pablo Marcos. Ironjaw the King. This is a splash page that shows us what's about to happen. What's going to happen, I mean. Just like those old, old DC comics. And so I like this art so much better, especially when I was 10. I was just like, yeah, look at all the lines. It was all about how many lines there were. That's what I thought great art was. But I kind of like Pablo Marcos, even though, like, there's some wonky faces. Like, look at this here. A little off there. So I guess it's the next morning. They go into the cell where the woman is, and they're, like, going to take her to the arena to be eaten by bears. They pour honey all over her because bears like honey. So I'm pretty sure a hungry bear would just eat you anyway. You don't have to entice them with honey And look at these two poorly drawn bears come out. They look quite scary, though. You could always say that they were mutated from the nuclear wars, so they look different, but I guess that's how I get my no prize from Atlas. Look at that panel. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ironjaw's unicorn shows up. And Ironjaw's kind of like slunk down, Native American style. And he frees... I gotta find her name out. He frees the blonde. I still don't know her name, sorry. She's like, oh, Ironjaw, you saved me. How can I ever repay you? When there's time, I will show you how. Oh my God. So they escape. She says, I'll show you the way to the rebel camp. We'll be safe there. Now we cut away to the princess. Man, those Spanish artists, they got such a way. And so her like lady in waiting, her handmaiden, she's this old lady. And she says, oh, you've been here since you were, a little girl. Tell me about, Ironjaw. And so I guess the story is it's very much like a Hamlet. So there was another king married to the queen, who is Ironjaw and the princess's mother. And I guess she had an affair with this other guy, the current king. They arranged for an accident to happen to the good king. And after a suitable time of mourning, she married her lover, and he became the new king. So it's almost the total Hamlet story. And because the new king, basically he was like, as soon as Ironjaw became of age, he would become king. So of course, this new king didn't like that. So he basically handed him over to this, one of the guys in the court, and said, take him and drown him in a lake. Get rid of this baby. But this guy took pity on the baby. Oh, I guess he was an old stableman. So the stableman takes pity, and instead of drowning him, he leaves him in a cave in the middle of winter, which doesn't seem like much mercy. It seems like maybe even a worse way to die. But he figures at least he'll have a chance. Maybe someone will find him. So now we're at the rebel camp, and they're basically planning to attack the castle. And they want Ironjaw to lead their forces, because none of them are real soldiers. But of course, Ironjaw's like, yeah, I'll do it for 500 gold crowns. He's a total mercenary. That's like I said earlier, he really is a barbarian. He's just a bastard. I mean, that's what the barbarians were. They used to go around raping and killing people, And so with Ironjaw leading the way, he just single-handedly sneaks into the castle, kills a bunch of guards, and he's going to open the fence. This is just some great art, great 70s, post-Neil Adams stuff. Pablo Marcos was really good at that. So Ironjaw's very effective at this. He's a right bastard. But before he actually opens the gate, he's like, oh, I wanted to have a little visit with that woman who came to my cell. He still doesn't know it's his sister. And he grabs her, and basically he's gonna just rape his sister. Well, he doesn't know it's his sister, like I said, but still, he's gonna rape this woman. She says, what do you want? What does a man usually want with a woman? And she says, wait, you mustn't. She says, I can't. I'm your sister. And she explains it to Ironjaw, tells him the whole story about the birthmark. and the old king. I like this Ironjaw, his exclamation, instead of saying like Crom, he always says, by the great machine. So there is kind of a little hint that maybe this is post-apocalyptic. Okay. So he ties her up. I don't think he quite believes her. And he continues his work of like slaying the guards, and he opens the gate. It's so inconsistent. Like some of the panels are like just wicked good, like this one, but then other ones are just like the faces are off. He's almost like those image artists where all he wanted to draw is the cool stuff. Like he doesn't want to have to draw like whatever, the backgrounds that much. He just wants to draw the cool money shots. I mean, he's way different than image artists, of course, but in that aspect. So the rebels see the gates open. And this guy, I don't know his name, but he's like the leader of the rebels, this blonde guy. And so they lay siege to the castle. They get inside, and it's a battle royale. Ironjaw makes his way to the king and queen's chamber. He makes short work of the captain of the guard, or whoever this guy is, who's going to defend them. And he aims his bow and arrow at him. And the king cowardly grabs the queen and uses her as a human shield. And he says, if you kill her, you'll be killing your own mother. He shoves the queen into Ironjaw, and he shoots him with a crossbow bolt. Ironjaw just rips it out of his arm and slowly lurches towards the king and stabs it right into his gut and kills him. So Ironjaw is now the new king. He gets the crown. And this guy, the leader of the rebels, he's all too happy to have a new king. It's not like they're pro-democracy forces. They just wanted a better king than that last one. And so, he just wants to live his life, Ironjaw, like he always has. He's like, oh, I'm going out into town to find myself a woman. And he's all like, you have a whole harem of the most beautiful women in town. You don't have to do that. And just to show what a, rapey guy he is, he's like, bah, what good are women if a warrior cannot fight to obtain them? It's just like in that Grease song, did she put up a fight? Oh, God, Michael Fleisher, man. And then he's going to go hunting, and the blonde guy says, oh, you got to go to a treasury meeting, and you have to host a royal banquet, and you have to meet some ambassadors from another country. And Ironjaw is just getting sick of this shit. He's like, being a king means I have to live like a toothless old woman? So finally he just escapes. He runs away. And the blonde guy catches him. So Ironjaw's tired of arguing with him. He just swats him. He gives him a slap and knocks him out. And he puts the crown on his head and says, you'll make a fine king, Blondie. I'm out of here. I can't stand this shit. And he rides off. He totally gives up his kingship. And that's it for number 2. Then we got number 3. And we now going to the Pablo Marcos covers. Not nearly as good as Neil Adams, but then again, what is? But pretty fun. Definitely would make a 10-year-old pick it up off the stands. So this is the Wolf-Cowled Headhunters of Amun Rock. It's quite a title. And once again, we have a splash page showing us the climax. We got the same creative team. And here we see Ironjaw. And I guess he's returning to the land of Amun Rock. That's where he lived most of his adult life with Tarlock and his robbers. So he's going to reunite with them. He finds a robber with arrows all in him. He's like pulling a Saint Sebastian. And he realizes that it's the sheriff's men It almost sounds like Robin Hood. So I guess there's some authority around here that are always trying to capture Tarlock and his robbers. Ironjaw takes him down from the tree. He's going to take the body back to Tarlock. And then all of a sudden, his unicorn smells something, and it's the sheriff's men. And the sheriff. And, God, I love this. Just a total, like, typical 70s Neil Adams ripoff art. I still like it. So Ironjaw starts taking these guys on, but he's totally outnumbered. And then all of a sudden, Tarlock shows up with his guys. And he actually says, "Hey, Ironjaw, I'll help you out if you give me $300 or $600 gold sovereigns." And while Ironjaw is fighting these guys, they're haggling. He's like, I'll give you 300. 600 is way too steep. They come to an agreement, and finally Tarlock descends into the fray with his men. And they quickly dispatch these the sheriff's posse. They let some of them run off so they can tell everyone how scary Tarlock is. And so Ironjaw pays off Tarlock. Tarlock probably would have done it for free. He's basically like Ironjaw's adoptive father. And so they ride off to have a sumptuous feast in Ironjaw's honor for returning. And now we have a recount of a little flashback. And Tarlock says how he was the one who found little baby Ironjaw in that cave. And he was just going to let him die. But he thought to himself, it'll be nice to have someone to support me in my old age. And he saved little baby Ironjaw and raised him to be a robber. Ironjaw's like, okay, I'm going to turn in now. And he's got one woman on each arm. So I guess the next morning, they're going to go to pay homage to the great machine that we've heard so much about. So they wander. I love this weird, it's almost like a Dr. Seuss mountain. Look at this crazy twisting, turning thing. And at the top is like the oracle. His name is Ham-Suck. He's a priest. Tolkar, God, is that his name? I already forgot how to pronounce his name. Tolkar? Sorry about this, guys. I get the memory of a gnat. Whatever the fuck his name is. The leader of the robbers. He doesn't believe in it. He's an atheist, basically. And he says, you guys are such suckers, giving that priest, he's a fucking charlatan. You give him all your gold just to get a blessing. So this is the great machine. And I don't know if it's supposed to be a washing machine, but it just looks like a box with a hole in the top. So I guess these guys, this has been going on for generations. They throw gold in, and then they get basically the blessing of the great machine. And this guy, Ham-Suck, which is just such a weird name, a dumb name. Ham-Suck, I guess he's the priest. And he is just like, it's a typical, I think Michael Fleisher's commenting on religion and just what a scam it is. So, the leader of the robbers, who I'll get his name in a second again, he's like yelling at the guys as they're doing it. They're like, you guys are so dumb. You're all fools throwing your money into that rusted tin can just so Ham-Suck can fish it back out. And Ironjaw's just like, oh man, you better cut it out. You're going to get cursed. And all of a sudden, the great machine starts spewing smoke. And Ironjaw starts pleading with Ham-Suck. He says, please, tell the great machine to turn his rage from Tarlock. I'll give you 100 more gold pieces. Actually, of course, the priest asks for that. He says, oh, if you give me 100 more gold pieces, maybe the great machine will forgive him. And And so Tarlock is just like, I'm out of here. You guys are morons. I can't stand to see you be such saps, you know? And later that night, the priest thinks to himself, you know, that Tarlock, he's become a little too loud with his scorn, where he might start influencing the rest of them to not believe in the great machine. So I got to take him out. So he goes to that village of those. So the title page says they're called the wolf-headed, whatever, headhunters. But they wear crocodile heads. Even on the first page they do. So I still don't get that name. Let's just call them the headhunters. And he basically hires them to take out Tarlock. And so the following day, they try to do just that. They ambush Tarlock and his men. They kill 2 of his men and take Tarlock prisoner. So even though, you know, Ironjaw totally believes in the great machine, he also loves his friend Tarlock. So he's going to basically kind of go against the will of the great machine, because in his mind he's like, yeah, this is what Tarlock gets for scorning the great machine. He deserves his fate. But, you know, deep down, I think he knows that that's hokum, and he's going to save him. So he infiltrates the camp of these headhunters by putting on one of their croc heads, and he frees Tarlock from his cage. I like how he first, though, extorts 300 gold, or 650 gold sovereigns from him. And, of course, Tarlock is like, you son of a bitch. He's like, fine, I'll give you the money. And then Ironjaw just wants to sneak out of there, but Tarlock starts yelling. I guess he wants to kick the shit out of all these guys. He doesn't just want to slink away in the night. And so we got a major melee here. Ironjaw and Tarlock just kicking the shit out of these guys. I like this, how at one point Ironjaw whistles for his horse. I don't know how you could whistle with an Ironjaw, but I guess he can. And the unicorn just stabs the guy. He runs the guy through with his horn. And then finally, when almost all of them are dead, they escape. And Tarlock says, I called the warriors out because I wanted you to have to earn your 650 sovereigns. And they all ride off laughing. I kind of like that issue. It's a good one. And now we have number 4, the very last issue. And another cover by Pablo Marcos. And this promises us the origin of Ironjaw. So unfortunately, Michael Fleisher is gone. And now Gary Friedrich is the writer. And that guy is not very good. But Pablo Marcos is still the artist, so that's nice. And I didn't mention it, but he does pencil and ink all 3 of these issues that he does. So we see Ironjaw just hanging out in a cave, and he starts reminiscing about how he became Ironjaw. So I guess Ironjaw was this just a peaceful minstrel named Roland, and he lived with Tarlock and the robbers. And I guess a lot of the robbers didn't like the way that all their girlfriends and their wives were kind of sweet on Roland, because Roland's just a really good-looking guy before he became Ironjaw. And he was also a minstrel who could sing. You know, he had a honeyed voice. So all these guys are jealous that all the women in the tribe pretty much want to get with Roland. Particularly this one guy. And because I think his girlfriend really is in love with him, like for sure. I'm going to see if they say his name real quick. It doesn't matter. And so this guy, he chops off the chin and jaw, lower jaw of Roland and leaves him to die. He figures he'll bleed out in an hour. And Roland as he's, he thinks he's done for. He prays to the great machine to give him the strength to repay these murderous cowards. A little while later, all of a sudden, this old man and Carlotta, who is I think the betrothed to that guy who chopped his chin off. They find Roland, and she's totally in love with Roland. It's not like she just has a crush on him, enough that she's going to risk her life to save him. So she puts him in this cart with the help of the hunchback, and they're going to take him to Soran the sorceress, who will hopefully save his life. We cut back to the present. Ironjaw hears a noise in the cave, and this giant monster attacks him. God, my 10-year-old self is totally responding to this art. This is just so perfect. It's wicked. And so there's a nice little fight scene. I guess the main weapon of this creature is its tongue. So Ironjaw tricks it by throwing his cape because it's attracted to sound, chops off his tongue, and then he throws his knife right into the soft spot of the lizard and kills it. And he's dead. And later on, as Ironjaw has a dinner of lizard tongue, which apparently is quite tasty and filling, he returns to his reminiscences. So we see Soran the sorceress, and she insists that Carlotta cannot be there while she does her ministrations. She says it won't work. And Carlotta basically says, well, if he doesn't make it, I'm going to make sure that you're thrown into the bear arena. So we see a couple of pages of Soran doing all these elaborate witches' potions and things. And apparently there's something about how she's also going to be reborn again. Like, I guess 4 times she's like lived to be an old crone and then did some special thing and become young again. And so it's a little confusing, but somehow she's doing both at once. She's multitasking. By healing Ironjaw, the spell is also going to make her younger. There's some really good art. I need some water, excuse me. And it works, at least at first for her. She gets younger. This is just such 70s style art. Strategically placed hair everywhere to cover her nudity. And then she continues to heal Ironjaw. She puts these mystic bandages, healing bandages on his face. And meanwhile, Carlotta's bow shows up. And he has found out about Roland's disappearance. And he's questioning her. Meanwhile, back at Soran the sorceress's cave, she's made herself a little bikini out of Roland's old shirt. And now we come back to the present once again. Just for a second, though. And back to the reminisce. Soran the sorceress leaves her cave for a second, and Ironjaw decides to find a stream to see what he looks like. He takes the bandages off, and he's horrified by his own visage. He kind of runs screaming back to the cave, and 2 of those bastards who try to kill him, they see him and they follow him into the cave, and they're gonna kill him. But Ironjaw's not so easy to kill. Well, I'm sorry, he's not Ironjaw quite yet. And did I miss something here? I think Oh yeah, this is kind of weird. Because those guys who want to kill him are like just hanging out in the cave while this guy shows up who gives him his Ironjaw. He's some kind of blacksmith. And so now he's fully, he's got his Ironjaw. And yeah, those guys are still here. I don't get it. Maybe he tied them up. And Ironjaw kills the main one in cold blood. And then the other one runs away. Well, I guess Dector is the main one. So this is going to continue. He lets the other one run away so he'll tell Dector, because then Dector will come to him. Because he's going to kill Dector. He's going to kill all those motherfuckers. So he figures it'll be easier if they come to him. Of course, the sorceress offers herself to him. And even though he looks quite formidable, he's never really fought in his life. He's a minstrel. So she makes that point. She says, you're going to have to train. I'm going to take you to some guy who's going to teach you to become a warrior. So I guess it's going to be a crash course, because those guys are probably going to be there soon. And the sorceress says, I love you, Ironjaw. Like, she loves him already. And now we flash back. We see Ironjaw lounging around. And I guess we're going to find the rest of the story next month, but we won't, because there will be no next month. And this is the last issue of Ironjaw. Though there is a comic called The Barbarians, which has an Ironjaw story in it. And I wonder if it's after this. I should have looked at that. But I'll review that some other time. And it's funny how many of the letters in the letter page, how many of them are like, Ironjaw's a total pig. He's a sexist pig. He's a male chauvinist. It's quite startling. This woman writes in, and she actually just says, Dear Atlas, you are cruel, heartless, and definitely the biggest male pigs to ever disgrace the comic business. Kind of weird. And then one of these kids is like dissing Neil Adams covers, and I'm like, oh man, those are fighting words. What, are you stupid? But other than that, there's nothing that interesting in here. And so there you go, guys. Ironjaw number 1 through 4 from Atlas Seaboard, 1974 to 1975. If you want to know what Atlas comics are like, this is a good place to start. Mainly Michael Fleisher. I think that could be part of the recipe of Atlas Seaboard, is that Michael Fleisher wrote like 5 titles, and they are the wonkiest, weirdest ones, and they're the ones you really remember. Because some of these it's hard to believe that they had the comics code on them. They seem to be able to get away with stuff that Marvel and DC couldn't or wouldn't even try to do. So it's such a mystery to me how Atlas Comics seem to do that. They had superheroes just killing people in cold blood, and just, it's very strange. But I love them. Maybe because of that, or definitely helps, because these comics are definitely different than your average mainstream comics, especially from the time. Hope you guys enjoyed looking at these, and I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.